So I don't particularly care if you can see me well or not. Oh, I'm gonna try. There we go. I've noticed that like no parking lots have lines on the roads anymore. And I got to thinking, why don't they have lines in their parking lots anymore? It's because it costs money. And people are gonna go shopping there whether there's lines on the road or not, even though it's like kind of dangerous and you know, cars are kind of strewn out all over the way, and if they're one-way roads and there's no marking on the road to tell you which way it's going, you know, it'd be dangerous. But people are still gonna go shopping. And then I thought about a bunch of like the, not highways, but main roads in towns and stuff. They're missing lines on the road too, and it's like people only know how to transport themselves on these roads if they're kind of like aware or have been here a long time or have like an intuition of what should be the right thing to do. But then we notice that there are people that leave shopping carts out. There are people who don't use turning signals. There are people who don't use common sense when driving. I mean, I just passed somebody doing 25 and a 45. Like, it got to me thinking. People are only going to do the bare minimum in order to get along in society, in any society, when they do not feel like society is serving them. And what do I mean? I'm mainly talking about people my age. Why is everybody in a Walmart, Kroger, or Target or anything a bunch of like either 20-year-old women or like really old people? And like the few dudes that are strewed about are like doing the heavy lifting, but like mainly it's young ladies and old people working. And where are all the guys my age? Well, they're probably at work, to be honest, but working where? At the places I'm visiting. They're working in construction, in tires, and automotive. But they're not showing up to church. So I know this sounds a little out there and crazy in a roundabout way, but men have given up on society because it doesn't serve them. And the one thing that they can go to that would give them direction has also been completely taken over by women. And I'd said about this stuff in my last Paul's Church stuff, but like we've literally destroyed the American man. And I don't care, like, if we're talking about boomers, like older men. I'm sorry, you're the first one that we need to yell at. You're the guys who passed feminist agendas that introduced women to the working class. And while you were going to Woodstock and getting stoned and taking mushrooms or LSD and talking about how the world is all love, man, from my perspective and whatnot. But then, like, you literally beat the crap out of your kids if you caught them smoking a cigarette or made them smoke like the entire case. And while you guys got to buy cars for $2,000, and buy houses for like $20,000, we buy cars for $50,000 and houses for $300,000. And you guys are working in every position that people like me should be working, and you won't even put paint on the road. You won't put your grocery carts away. You won't use your turn signals. You show up at the same time as somebody else at a stop sign, and you have a complete conniption. You are the managers and the supervisors, yet all your subordinates are completely useless and lazy. We went to your public schools, but we didn't learn how to do anything, and it's our fault that we don't like talking on the phone. When the phone conversations we had our parents have were them screaming, or the fact they were on the phone for so long they didn't care about their kids. I don't know what's gonna take for boomers specifically to realize that they need to give up their heaven on earth that created hell for everybody else. You know, you're thinking about opening a rental property, but like it's going to be $2,000 a month. You pay for all utilities, and I lived in an apartment that had mold infestation so bad that I might have to have surgery to correct my sinuses because of it. While I was giving over half of all my paychecks just to live there. You know, I hate to say it, but boomers need to realize, like, yeah, it's all your fault, and it's not just enough to say that it's all your fault. You actually have to do something about it. Like, unless you want to be known as a generation of Kronos eating their own kids, of the elder gods destroying the future for their children, if you do not want to be remembered as literally the most selfish, narcissistic, materialistic, self-absorbed generation, change. You have to change. And that includes giving up some of your comforts that would feed people like me. Like, I've said this in a Paul's church. If your pastor is with and any of your congregants are without, you're at the wrong church. Period. If there are people that can and will not, you're at the wrong church. If there are people that hog the resources, and that includes social resources, that includes attention, that includes time. If you are spending the church resources on having a gossip hour instead of a workshop for men like me, you're part of the problem. I'm sorry. I know I hark on boomers a lot, but at what point do you actually take what you read in the Bible? And I'm not even talking about just being nice people or kind people. When are you going to like sell your stuff and follow Jesus for real, for real? Because right now, my generation is absolutely destitutely, existentially depressed beyond all matter. Like, I'm never going to buy a house. This might be the only car I ever actually pay off. We are paying more for, like, economy sedan cars and, like, the SUVs, right? We're paying more for those than, like, the entirety of a house for when our boomers, parents and grandparents, grew up. I've been told you guys are just going to have to expect to go with less while they go with more than they need. They are feeding us scraps and wondering why we are not grateful for it. But, like, the reason there are scraps in the first place is because you all sold the jobs that made food to people who only make scrap. You imported the third world country and wonder why social cohesion is completely fallen down. We gave a whole new group of people rights, but not hold them accountable for their actions because their entire history is them being downtrodden. We are letting people come into our country that are violent and evil and doing violent and evil things to people in the name of being kind, because come one, come all America. But if you already live here, if I am a heritage American, I can trace my heritage all the way back to the Mayflower and also slave ships. I came here as my family came here as freemen and as slaves, okay? And, like, I'm not gonna brag, I'm a pretty smart dude, I guess. People tell me anyway. Then why, like, if this is a meritocracy, I can't find employment worth anything? Because it doesn't make people money. And that's what I'm going to harp on. Them downsizing and letting their children go better would directly impact their own wealth, and they would stop making money. They don't paint the roads because that would cost money and not have a return. But we don't want to actually change or have actions with better consequences than what we have now. We're now holding people accountable that are doing bad things. We're not removing people that are doing bad things. We are not enabling people who want to do good. Instead, we are subsidizing the literal destruction of our entire society. All because they don't want to make it would hurt their personal wealth. Boomers are the richest generation of America ever. Millennials are going to be one of the poorest. I feel so bad for Zoomers. I feel bad for alphas. And my son, who's the first year of betas. If we make it that far, I think people need to realize, not only with this war going on overseas, but the war that's going on here against the American people, by the very people telling us to pick us up by our bootstraps. But first they have to sell us the boots, and then the laces are extra, and then tell us how to put it on wrong so they can make fun of us later. There are certain things that we've accepted that are just the norm and that we need to do, and those are what's caused the destruction of America. I'm talking about not painting side roads. I'm talking about not using turn signals. Grocery carts are just little things. When's the last time you saw a lemonade stand? When's the last time a little girl came to your house asking if they could sell you cookies? What are the kids playing in the streets? We are not having kids because boomers convinced us that we were burdens, that we stopped them from having their fun with their careers or their own personal hobbies and desires. Kids got in the way of our parents having a good life. So we are burned into our psyche that we are burdens and that we extract from the system, and we should be grateful for the scraps that we get. And if we don't, go live on Skid Row. It's your fault you're there. Your parents didn't provide for you and try to make a better world for you, and it's your fault. No wonder all my friends are alcoholics or stoners. Boomers, this is a plea. As a millennial man, look at what you have. Look at what your children have. Look at what your grandchildren have. If you're seeing a downward trend, you got to start sacrificing. You're at the end of your life, right? You're on your way out, right? You have no interest in the investment of the future. You're killing your kids, and you're killing your grandkids if that's your attitude. You are handing them the gun. You're handing them the bottle. You're handing them the joint or needle. All right? If you are seeing a downward trend in your family, as the man, you need to take charge. Do something. Christian men are the most qualified to lead. Period. If you are, it's time to start. And if people buck you, point towards the Bible. And if they don't want to accept the Bible, man, you see yourself out. If they don't want to hear the good news, you're supposed to see yourself out. Jesus did. And when Paul was thrown out, he stayed out. Yeah, I mean, you would return a couple of times, but he says don't overstay if they're not going to listen to you. Because if you're going to spend your time arguing with your family about what your job as the head of it is, you got better things to waste your time on.